I hope everyone is well. So it's 1 o'clock on Friday, time for another cook-along. I'll go as slow as I can. Hopefully you've weighed out lots of the ingredients. I'm going to weigh mine now, just so that you can have time to weigh it if you haven't already. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is put the flour in the bowl. Now some of you messaged me to say what flour. So on the recipe it's white flour, wholemeal flour. You can have a mixture of both or just one. Okay, I've got both as it happens. The wholemeal gives it a sort of a bit of a nutty flavour. Okay, so you can either just do all white, all brown, or a mixture of both. A mixture of both is better, but you can use white. Someone asked earlier, could they use bread flour? That's fine. Plain flour, self-raising flour, bread flour, it matters not. So I'm going to put, it's 150 in total, but obviously I'm using half and half. So I'm going to put 75 grams of white flour, and then 75 grams of wholemeal flour. You will need to keep out some flour if you have any spare, because you might need a little bit if the mixture might be a little bit wet for rolling out, as you see in a second. All right, so just put these out of the way. So 75 grams of butter. We now put in 25 grams of butter also goes into the mixture. So I've got a large block of butter here, 25 grams, not much, 25 grams. I'm going to get everything weighed first, all right, and then we can make it. All right, so if you've got yours weighed already, well done. If you have got yours weighed already and you're just kind of watching me weigh mine, get your oven turned on. All right, so you need the oven turned on about 180 degrees. It's about gas mark 4, kind of thereabouts. All right, so it gets nice and preheated. You'll also need a baking tray, and if you have got any sort of baking paper or something to stop it sticking, that's going to save washing up later, basically, as well. Okay, so I've now got my flour and my butter in the bowl. I'm now just going to measure the milk. Now the milk is 50, and apologies, I said 50. What does that mean? So it's 50 millilitres. If you haven't got a scale or a jug with millilitres on, you can use tablespoons. So there is 15 grams or millilitres in 1 tablespoon. So, and there's 5 in a teaspoon. So mathematically that would work out 3 tablespoons of milk and then 1 teaspoon of milk. That would make the same quantity. Okay, sometimes scales you can measure it on. That's what I'm going to use as a scale. So I'm just going to put it on to millilitres and set it to 0. Any milk, I've just got whole milk because that's what happened to be there in the shop. But you can use semi-skimmed, skimmed. You can use if you oat milk or another kind of milk is absolutely fine. So it's 50 millilitres of milk. I put too much in. Just remember, by the way, with baking, be accurate, all right? You can't just kind of put a bit of that in, a bit of that in. It does need to be accurate, otherwise it just won't work. Okay, some cooking you can adapt, and others you can't. Baking, as a rule, you generally can't. So I have 50 in there now. Get rid of that. Just get an idea, see if that's 50, see it's not much at all. All right, it's quite a small amount. What we're now going to do is break an egg in. Just a reminder, you just want to crack the egg on something hard, and pour that in. Give that a little whisk, just to mix it up. All right.
Could you re-say the ingredients again, please?
Yeah, sure. So it's 150 grams of flour, 25 grams of butter, 50 millilitres of milk, and 1 egg. Everything else is kind of optional, right, which we'll say in a second. All right, so it's 150 of flour, 25 of butter, 50 millilitres of milk, so that's 3 tablespoons and 1 teaspoon, and 1 egg. Right, at that point, I'm actually going to add some seasoning, just some salt and pepper. You can actually add this at any point and to anything, as long as it's kind of in there, it doesn't really matter too much. So put a bit of salt and a bit of pepper, just a bit of seasoning. I'm just putting mine into the flour, but you put it into the egg, it doesn't matter too much at all. All right, and then I've got, which we'll see in a second, I've just got some ham. I've got some tomato puree. Like I said, you could use pizza sauce, you could use ketchup, even barbecue sauce. Remember, this essentially is a pizza roll. So what we would normally put into a pizza, you can put into this. And I've got regular cheddar cheese. I've already grated, I'm cheating. But you can use any cheese you like. And again, think about pizza. So you put things like salami, anything you put in a pizza really can go into these. All right, but if you get, let's just get the recipe. you know the recipe working, and then you can adapt as you kind of go along. Right, I'm going to assume that everyone is good to go. So I've got my flour and I put my seasoning in and I've got my butter. So what you now do is what's called a rubbing in method, all right? So you get your hands in and you literally just rub the chunks of butter into the flour, all right? The aim is to just break up the butter. If you have a big chunk of butter, just chop it up a little bit, just with a knife. If you have something like margarine or a spread that you're using, you'll find this literally takes 2 seconds, right? It's just really easy. If it's butter, it will take a little bit longer, but not much longer. Okay, literally that's it, right? What does that take, 10 seconds? You see, might be a few lumps, but that's not an issue at all. We then get our mixture, our egg mixture, our milk and egg mixture, and that's going to go in there. Okay, what we're now going to do, we're going to use, you can get your hand straight in or use a spoon, probably a bit cleaner, just to pull it together. And what this is going to make then is a dough. All right. Now at this point you might need a bit more flour. It does depend on what flour you use, how sticky it is. In the sense of if I used just wholemeal, then I might need a tiny bit more milk. If I use just white flour, you might find it a little bit tacky. I might need to add a tiny bit of flour. Remember, just add a sprinkle. You do not want loads at all. So if I can just show you this. Now I know this is done because the bowl's been left not clean, but with no flour in the bottom. So I'm going to get rid of the bowl. But however, again, this is where you need to start thinking about adapting with cooking. Is that's a tiny bit sticky there. Now, if I know if I start to roll that out, that's going to probably stick on the table. Okay, so what I'm going to do therefore is get a bit of flour, put it on the table, and put a little bit of flour on the top also. But note, I'm not mixing it in. All right, because otherwise that will dry out. Okay, I'm now going to get a rolling pin. Because if we're going to roll this into essentially a large kind of sausage roll type shape, you need it as an oblong as much as you can. All right, so make sure there's flour on the bottom because if it sticks, that's not going to be great. Lightly roll. Remember last time when we made the flatbreads? Give it a roll and move it. Give it a roll and move it. Okay, so just going to go this way. Whoops. Just like that. So if some sticks to the rolling pin, do not worry, but maybe add a little bit of flour there. All right. So if it is sticking, just add a little bit of flour. You don't want loads. And remember, we're aiming for a rough rectangle. Okay. And remember, you want to make sure that it's not stuck on the bottom. If for some reason it is stuck on the bottom, all right, like mine's a little bit stuck on the end there, do not panic and do your best not to actually screw it all up into a ball because actually that will add more flour to it and dry the mixture out. So what you do is get a palette knife if you have one or something similar, or a slice, and just release it. Okay, release it from the bottom, all right, and put a bit more flour there. Okay, now thickness, again, a bit of a hard balance. If we can zoom in a little bit there. See about that? If it's too thick, it won't cook and be a bit doughy. If it's too thin, it will break. So there's a bit of a fine balance. Just make sure it's even. All right, is everyone good? Any problems? Any questions? No? Amazing. So, what we now do is kind of build the pizza. It's not a pizza, but it is like a pizza. So, if you have your sauce, we'll go on first. Now with ketchup, just squidge it over. If you have the pizza sauce, same, just spoon some over and spread it out. I've got puree. Now puree is strong, so you do not want too much of this, all right? So you wouldn't put as much of this on as you would say pizza sauce or tomato ketchup. So literally, just imagine you're buttering bread, I guess. So not much. If you put too much on and plaster it with this, it literally would just taste the tomato puree. No, you really would not taste anything else at all. Okay. Okay, and that is absolutely loads. I mean, go, near to the corner. Perfect. I've got ham. You could use, obviously, bacon, but you would have to cook the bacon beforehand. Again, this is the point. You can put any pizza fillings or toppings in that you fancy. You could do veg, you could have it vegetarian, you could have it very meaty, whatever the case may be. So the ham goes on the top.
You're being too fast.
Okay, I'll wait a second then. And very slowly. While we're waiting, actually, obviously we're going to have a bit of a pause for 2 weeks because it's Easter, although we're all stuck indoors. So I might do something, but it won't be the Wednesday and the Friday, probably just one thing next week. Okay, but what would be great if you're cooking over the half term is to send some pictures, and I can put something together and post it on Instagram. That'd be great. So don't forget the email, really simple. So cookingwithmrdix@gmail.com. All right, really simple. It'd be great to see what you're cooking. I've already had some pictures, and thanks for that. Really great to see some of you cooking. All right, so just gonna put some cheese on, just like you would as a regular pizza. I'm just using just cheddar because that's what was there, but you could use really any cheese, mozzarella, or any cheese at all. Okay, whoops, I'm right to the edge. Right, so I might as well put all that on, why not? I said on the ingredients, put some mixed herbs or some herbs. At this point, if you have fresh ones, you would need to chop them up. If you have dried ones, like you might have on a pizza, just sprinkle some over. Again, these are quite powerful as a flavour, so you really do not want loads at all. Half a teaspoon, if you want a measurement, but just sprinkle some over. It's just a background flavour, or leave them out completely. All right, this is the thing with at least the feeling of this is that you're completely flexible and versatile to put in or take out whatever you want. Okay, at this point, we now make the sausage roll, if you want to call it that. So all we're going to do is we're just going to roll it. Now, it's important here that you roll it quite tight. I do it towards you actually so you can see better. So, just grab it and you just fold over this bit. Can be a bit fiddly. And then we're just going to fold. Right, now at this point, try and keep it as tight as you can. So fold, fold, fold. There we go. And we have like a sausage roll type effort. Let's quickly get rid of that. Now, at this point, hopefully your oven is preheated so it's nice and hot. These will take about 15 minutes, but I will show you in a second some done, because we're not going to be looking at each other for 15 minutes while these cook. But we have a baking tray. I've got some paper on mine. Haven't got paper, not a problem. It just saves on the washing up. What you do now then, find my knife. Generally this end bit you can just cut off because it hasn't got anything in there. All right, so let's tidy that up, just like that. You can cut that if you want to, but it will just be raw, essentially some pastry. And you want to slice them. I'm not good at measurements, but just like that. And we're going to turn it this way and on the baking tray. Okay, and give it a little bit of a squeeze. Not much of a squeeze, but a little squeeze. Let me just measure that if you want to be particularly precise. That's about 3 centimetres. Okay. So, just going to cut down, if I just do them all. There's a little bit of, not too much in the end there, so let's get rid of that. And we're just going to put these on the baking tray. Don't worry too much if that comes undone, which they may do, so just put them on. These won't actually spread that much, like they do a little bit, but they set more than they spread, all right? So don't worry too much about them being on. Notice, by the way, the way I'm putting them on the board, on the baking tray, pardon me, is that if you do 2 and then 1, and then another 2 and 1, you can actually fit more on. And then we're just going to do, and the last one, just squeeze that down a bit. There we go.
Can you cook it on a pizza tray?
Oh yeah, absolutely, that'd be perfect. Yeah, because the heat underneath will seal it. Okay, so now by the magic of the TV, not really, I made some earlier, but these will go in the oven. All right, so about 15 minutes. On, I said 180s, pack gas mark 4, gas mark 5. Keep your eye on them, don't want them to burn. When they come out, they will look like this. Now, as you see, they set. Now that people panic, they think, oh, I've burnt it. You actually haven't. All that is the tomato puree that just colours. All right, but you can tell they're done. They firm. They are really tasty. Let me cut one open. And once you've kind of mastered this, because you think about it, lots of skills here. You've made your own pastry, really tasty. You have a couple with a salad or just something to nibble on. And there we're done. So listen, so say again, might put something on next week and the week after, but we start again after half term properly with Wednesdays and the Friday live feed. Hope you enjoyed cooking that again. I'd love to see pictures of this or anything else you cook over the Easter period and going forward. So it's Cooking with Mr. Dix, and hopefully you've enjoyed that, and be safe, keep washing your hands, and see you soon. Perfect.